I dressed as Santa and exposed my wife's affair at our Christmas party. Her world shattered instantly. I, 36 male, thought this Christmas would be memorable for all the right reasons, but instead, it turned into something out of a soap opera. I've been married to my wife, Emily, 34 female, for 10 years, and we have 2 wonderful kids, Sophie, 8 and Max, 5. Every year, we host a Christmas party for our family and close friends. It's a tradition I love. And this year, I decided to surprise everyone by dressing up as Santa for the kids. About 2 weeks before the party, I started noticing Emily acting strange. She was glued to her phone, smiling at messages and quickly hiding the screen whenever I walked in. At first, I brushed it off as holiday stress or her planning a surprise for me. But then, late one night, I saw a notification pop up on her phone. "Can't wait to see you again, babe. Last night was amazing." My stomach dropped. I didn't confront her immediately. Instead, I took a screenshot of the message on her phone while she was asleep and forwarded it to myself. I needed more proof before jumping to conclusions. Over the next week, I pieced things together. She was meeting up with someone named Ryan from her gym. I checked her texts, emails, and even our shared calendar. She had lied about running errands on at least 3 occasions to meet him. By the time the Christmas party rolled around, I had gathered enough evidence to confirm the affair. There were explicit texts, photos, and even a receipt for a dinner they had shared 2 nights earlier when she told me she was working late. My heart was shattered, but I knew I needed to keep it together for the kids. On the day of the party, I decided to stick with the Santa plan. I dressed up in the red suit, beard and all, and arrived at the house after Emily had welcomed the guests. Seeing her laugh and mingle with our friends like nothing was wrong made my blood boil, but I kept my composure. Halfway through the party, I overheard her talking to her best friend, Sarah, in the kitchen. She didn't know I was standing just around the corner. Her voice was low, but I caught every word. "I feel bad lying to him," she said. "But Ryan just makes me feel alive in a way I haven't in years." Sarah tried to reason with her. "Emily, you need to figure this out. You can't keep stringing him along." "I know," Emily replied, "but it's hard. Mark's such a good dad, and I don't want to ruin Christmas for the kids." At that moment, I realized there was no turning back. She wasn't remorseful, she was just afraid of being caught. The reveal. When it was time for Santa to hand out gifts to the kids, I gathered everyone in the living room. The kids were excited, and Emily was smiling, completely oblivious to what was about to happen. I handed out presents to the kids first, letting them bask in the joy of the moment. Then I turned to Emily. "I have a special gift for you, honey," I said, handing her a wrapped box. She looked surprised but played along, opening it in front of everyone. Inside was a stack of printed screenshots, the texts, photos, and receipts from her affair with Ryan. Her face went pale as she realized what it was. "What is this?" she stammered, trying to cover her shock. "It's the truth," I said, loud enough for everyone to hear. "Merry Christmas, Emily." The room went silent. Sarah looked mortified. My parents were wide-eyed, and the kids, thankfully, were too busy playing with their toys to notice. But the biggest shock came when the doorbell rang. I had invited Ryan's wife, Jessica, to the party. She walked in with a calm but icy demeanor, holding her own set of evidence. "I think it's time we all had a little chat," she said. Emily broke down in tears, trying to explain herself, but I didn't want to hear it. I told her the marriage was over and that I would be filing for divorce after the holidays. Jessica and I exchanged contact information to coordinate our next steps. Update: a week later. The aftermath of the party was chaotic. Emily moved in with her sister temporarily, and we told the kids that mommy and daddy needed some time apart. I've started the divorce process and I'm working with a lawyer to ensure I get fair custody of Sophie and Max. Jessica and I have become unlikely allies in this mess. She told me that Ryan had been cheating on her for years and that she was finally ready to leave him. We've been supporting each other through the legal process and even met up for coffee a few times to vent about everything. Emily has been begging for forgiveness, saying it was a mistake and that she wants to work things out. But I can't see myself ever trusting her again. She didn't just cheat, she lied to my face and put our family at risk. Update: 3 months later. The divorce is moving forward, and I've been granted temporary primary custody of the kids. Emily is allowed visitation, but the kids have been struggling with the transition. I've enrolled them in therapy to help them process everything. Jessica finalized her divorce from Ryan last month. She and I remain friends, and while some people have speculated about us being romantically involved, I can assure you we're just 2 people trying to heal from similar betrayals. Emily continues to apologize, but her actions during the divorce proceedings suggest otherwise. She's been trying to claim more assets than she's entitled to, and my lawyer has had to push back hard. It's disappointing but not surprising. Final update, 6 months later. The divorce is now final. I've kept the house and have primary custody of the kids. Emily has moved into an apartment nearby, and we're working on co-parenting as civilly as possible for Sophie and Max's sake. Looking back, I don't regret how I handled the situation. It was painful and messy, but it was also necessary. The Christmas party may have been ruined, but it marked the beginning of a new chapter for me and my kids, one built on honesty and resilience. As for Emily and Ryan, I heard their relationship fizzled out quickly after everything came to light. Jessica is thriving, and I'm focusing on being the best dad I can be. If there's one thing this experience has taught me, it's that the truth always finds a way to come out, no matter how hard someone tries to hide it. Thanks for reading. If you've been through something similar, know that you're not alone. It gets better one day at a time. Story 2. My wife and I have been together 6 years and married 2. We have always wanted kids but wanted to wait and not rush at the start of our marriage. The pregnancy came as a surprise but a very welcomed and happy one. Everything went smoothly throughout the pregnancy. There were never any signs of issues. We decorated the nursery together and put up the furniture. We were so excited to meet our baby and be parents. She carried to term, and the day of the birth again things were okay. She gave birth and we didn't hear any crying. We were so confused, and you can see it in the doctor's eyes that they were very concerned. I can't begin to explain the heartbreak when we were told that our little girl didn't make it. We were able to hold her and she was so beautiful. A funeral home has a free funeral service for little angels, so we buried ours, just the 2 of us. I have never seen a casket so small. I have been trying to be strong for my wife. I only cry when she's not around, so when she needs me I'm there. It's been hard to stay strong when she's crying in my arms. Seeing her like this adds to the pain. Last night I couldn't hold it in and started bawling with her. She didn't like that at all. She started saying that I was trying to make it about me, how I should be the man and support her. She also said that I don't have the right to be so upset because I wasn't the one carrying her and giving birth. She went to bed and left me there. I know she has it worse than me because she carried our angel and have birth to her. I just didn't expect her to react that way. But I lost my daughter too. I wanted to be a father. I didn't get to change her diaper for the first time and spend my first sleepless night with her crying. I lost her too. I know that my wife is hurting, which is why she's reacting that way. How do I support her better but also let her know how I feel in a way that doesn't seem like I'm taking away from her? Update, TLDR at the bottom, sorry it's pretty long. I want to first of all say thank you for the help and advice. I tried reading as many comments as I could. It's a lot to get through and I appreciate the help. I read a few comments that sort of blamed me for my wife's reaction and assumed that I treated her pregnancy and the birth as if it wasn't a big deal. I'm not sure where I implied that. When I say that the pregnancy went smoothly, I meant that the doctors never found any medical problems and that both of my girls were healthy. I have never once and never will dismiss that experience. If I treated everything she went through like it wasn't a big deal, I wouldn't even be here asking how I can make things better for her. I also never even equated our pain. I believe what I wrote is I know she has it worse than me because she carried our angel and gave birth to her. And I know that my wife is hurting, which is why she's reacting that way. How do I support her better but also let her know how I feel in a way that doesn't seem like I'm taking away from her? I'm not sure where I equated our pain. If anything, I am diminishing my own pain in order to support her, or at least I tried to. Even after what she said, I wasn't mad at her. I was hurt, but I wasn't mad. I know she said it out of pain. It still hurts. I didn't need to read that I'm a piece of SHT husband that doesn't care for my wife because I'm also grieving the loss of our daughter. I see her every day. I see the pain that she is in. I hear it. I can't begin to imagine it, and I never will be able to understand it. I know that what she is going through is worlds different than me. If I could take all her pain and put it on me, believe me, I would. No question. What I also didn't need to read is how my wife is evil and other countless mean words. That wasn't the point of my post. It wasn't to boost my ego and to bash my wife. It's incredibly rude and unhelpful in every way. I asked a question because I was at a loss and didn't know how to proceed. My wife isn't a bad person at all. She's an amazing woman and she honestly deserves the world. She doesn't deserve this at all. Thank you to those of you who acknowledged what she said but also didn't speak ill of her. It doesn't make me feel any better having people say those things about her. She's not abusive or a monster. It made me sick reading those comments. It's upsetting that I even have to say this, but it's the internet. I get that. Apologies for the rant. I just wanted to let off some steam. I've always felt the need to be Superman. When I was 16, I lost my father and it was extremely hard on my mother, and I had to be her rock then or I would have lost her too. This caused me to act out in ways people would call evil to others around me. I've lost friends because of that. I held it in at home for my mom and it came out in an ugly way. I can understand why my wife is reacting this way, and I'm not going to leave her over this. I wasn't planning on it. I want to be there for her, but I don't think I can be there for her the way I have been. I can't carry the weight of both our pains on my shoulders anymore. I'm barely holding on right now. I feel like I'm in a speeding car with no steering wheel or brakes. I haven't mentioned anything to my wife about her comments, and I don't think I will right now. I'll be looking into some counseling dealing with this type of situation. I also want to look into some counseling for PPD for my wife. I've heard stories of how heartbreaking it could be when it isn't taken seriously. I don't even want to imagine it. I hope we find the help we both need and that we can come together eventually. Our friends and family have been by her side as well. They call and text her often. Her mom and sister come over too. I'm happy that she is getting extra support. I wish I was doing more for her myself. It didn't occur to me how me crying in her presence could make her feel worse. I feel guilty now, like I'm failing her. It would be nice to get a check-in from our loved ones once in a while, but she needs it more, so it's okay. I want her to get the most help. I'll use the counseling. As stupid as it may sound, having strangers tell me that it's okay to cry made me tear up a bit. The only person in my life who has told me that is my father. Whenever I would get hurt as a kid, instead of telling me don't cry, he'd say that it's okay to do so. He's the type of man and father I aspire to be. Hopefully, with the outside help, I will be stronger for my wife. Thanks again. I love my wife and I want us to get through this and come out stronger together. I love my daughter and she will forever be my firstborn. TLDR, will be looking into counseling for my wife and I. Story 3. Recently my parents visited my condo. For the past few months since I've bought it, they've visited me regularly just to talk, and so I thought it was just another visit. And it was until I saw something plugged in my living room. Me and my fiance, I'm 25 female, he's 22 male, clean our place once a week, so I didn't see it until now, and it was a nanny cam. I unplugged it and I called my parents about it and they said they didn't know anything about it. I believed them at first, but when my fiance told me that they were the only people that had been in our place in the past week, I asked them again. And then they confessed. Their reasoning was honestly appalling, and to put it simply, they wanted to make sure I wasn't having sex. We got in a really big argument and I've told them to not visit me for a while, but they told me they'd do it anyways and that we'd have a talk in person about me not being compliant. I'm a grown sass-effing woman. There is no valid reason for them to break my trust and put a secret camera in my house. I honestly don't feel comfortable seeing my parents for a long time. They were already pushing their boundaries IMO with a lot of the comments they say about my fiance. They've said on numerous occasions he was a SLT, which is effing gross. The only person that's convinced me to still let them see me these past few months is literally my fiance. And yet they still disrespect both him and his culture regularly. As far as I'm concerned, if he's not open to seeing them, I have no reason to see them for some time either. Relevant comments: change the locks if they have the keys, or simply don't open the doors, say you're out. That's absurd, and in my country it would be a crime. I'm already planning to do that even if they don't have keys. I live in the US and I'm pretty sure it's a crime here too, unless you're talking about the US. And do a more thorough search of the home in case there wasn't only the one camera, since they could have admitted to one, hoping you would stop looking after they confessed. That was the only one. We checked every outlet because the camera they use needs to be plugged in. If they did something as messed up as this to you as an adult, I dread to think what they did to you as a kid. It took me till I was 45 to realize stuff like this is abuse. No locks on doors, strict curfews, just normal controlling parent things. It honestly became this controlling when I started dating my fiance. They were weird about him on day one. Yet they still disrespect both him and his culture regularly. I won't make any assumptions about which cultures are involved here, but I suspect that the above is a very large clue as to what's actually going through their heads, and what the underlying problem really is. I'm white and Christian and my fiance is Asian and practices Taoism. Update: hi, so it's been a while since I made my first post. I didn't want to make an update on this, however a lot of really effed up SHT has happened recently that's been stressing me out as of late. To start from the beginning, my parents put a camera in me, 25 female, and my fiance's 22 male condo without us knowing. They visited our condo frequently up until that point, so we didn't expect anything until we actually saw it a week later. When we confronted them about it, their reasoning was to basically make sure we weren't having sex, and after it all happened I didn't feel comfortable at all seeing or talking to them again, or to maybe go no contact, especially considering all of the weird SHT they'd said about my fiancé prior to this. However, my fiancé convinced me to do otherwise, so we talked to my parents about it all. They apologized, which the both of us thought sounded really fake, so we decided to set some boundaries with them. The most notable ones was that they weren't allowed in our condo for the next year, we changed the passcode for our smart lock, etc., and that they could only meet us in public spaces. We also asked my parents to admit they put a camera in our house if we ever wanted to take legal action against them. At the time we didn't plan to ever do that, and for the past few months since the incident we haven't seen my parents all that much. Then around Thanksgiving my fiancé saw my parents. I was at work at the time, but my fiancé was taking his cousin, 15 male, to a fundraising event for his youth church group. My fiancé isn't really all that religious, but he does identify as a Taoist. On the other hand, his cousin is Christian, like my family. I'm pretty sure he's Catholic while my parents are Protestant, so there is a disconnect there. But regardless, they're both still Christian. My fiancé is close to his cousin, and even though I don't really talk to him besides when I'll watch his volleyball games, he's a nice kid. So when my fiancé called me to tell me that he was going to spend the day with him, I thought that was fine. But then I got a call from my fiancé telling me that he saw my parents at the event. When he said that, I just told him to ignore them. TBH, I don't think I reacted with enough urgency. I should have told him to literally stay the F away from them, like don't talk with them at all, because for some reason he decided to bring his cousin to go talk to them. I love my fiancé, so please don't take this the wrong way, but when he told me he willingly brought himself over to see them, I wanted to call him stupid so bad. I don't want to get mad at him, but when he tried to explain his reasoning to me, it was all just, I don't know, so effing stupid. He said when he said hi to my parents, they asked him what he was doing here, and then he introduced his cousin. He said that they were actually really respectful to his cousin. It's a kid, so they should be. But I digress, and they talked for a while. His cousin told my fiancé that he needed to go now, so my fiancé tried to say bye. And when he did, he said my dad grabbed his arm. He said they let go right away, but my fiancé asked him what was he doing. They proceeded to get in an argument, and my fiancé started to film them. He got in on video. Literally as soon as he started filming, they began pushing away my fiancé and his cousin. Literally an effing kid. They were pushing and hurting a kid for no effing reason. After that, my fiancé brought his cousin with him back home, so his cousin's event was ruined for him. For the past few weeks now, me and my fiancé have been considering on getting a restraining order against my parents, at the very least my dad. Amazingly, my fiancé is still somewhat hesitant on going all the way through with it. But once he considers his cousin and the fact that he was affected by my parents too, he wants to get it. It's actually so effing crazy the SHT my parents have done to try and control my and my fiancé's life. Them putting the camera in our house was just the thing that really opened my eyes to everything. After this, I don't ever want to talk to them. My parents have been ignoring all of our calls, but I really wonder what reason they had to basically involve my fiancé's cousin too. Just unbelievable all around, really. Relevant comments. Your fiancé needs to take your lead when it comes to your parents. He needs to be on your side. You can't half-sass and see. He has been taking my lead on this, especially after his confrontation with my parents. Before, I'd say he was still trying to maintain a resemblance of a relationship between us and my parents. However, now he's just worried about me now, which I really appreciate. I think sometimes people who don't have abusive, controlling parents don't really understand the seriousness of it. Hopefully your fiancé will listen to you about this now. I think the thing with him is that he has had abusive parents. The reason he's always tried so hard to keep the relationship between me and my parents alive is because his parents were abusive to him, and yet he still has a relationship with them. Especially after what just happened. That mindset, I think, is gone from him, but I just never really made any sense to me. OP. 1. You have been allowing your fiancé to dictate your relationship with your parents. You wanted to cut them off, but he said no. 2. He sought them out, meaning he could have avoided the drama by not going near them, as you had agreed prior, so once again he ignored your wishes. 3. He is only agreeing to cut them out, look at legal options because his cousin was affected by his choices. 4. Now you have your friends telling you to take your time, which means that there is more time for your fiancé to ignore you yet again and go against your wishes regarding contact with your family. You need to stand up for yourself and make decisions for yourself and evaluate the rest of the people you have around you because newsflash, it's not only your parents who disregard your boundaries. I completely understand what you're saying, and I've talked about him listening to me on all of this. But throughout this whole situation, I've been the one making all of the decisions. I've thought about my fiancé and his opinion, of course, but I was the one who decided to not cut contact when they initially put a camera in our house, and I'm the one really pushing for a restraining order now. He's not arguing with me to not push back on my parents. It's not who he really is. And yes, I know he could have avoided this whole entire situation if he just avoided my parents. I've expressed my frustration with him. Because believe me, it's effing bugging me still that he did that. But like I said, it's who he is as a person. He's a people pleaser. He always tries to make everybody happy. I love him for that, but it's probably really clear now that it's hurting us. The fact that it hurt his cousin as well, who he's told me is like his brother to him, just made it worse for him. Again, I agree that I should stand up for myself and make the decisions that benefit me, and I've been doing that. My fiancé hasn't been trying to override my decisions with his, he's just trying to make everybody happy. It's how he's always been, and especially with him still in university for his degree, it's been really stressful for him as well. Thank you so much for watching until the end. If you really like our videos, please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Have a great day.